Welcome to Real Estate Coaching Radio, starring award-winning real estate coaches and #1 international best-selling authors, Tim and Julie Harris. This is the #1 daily radio show for realtors looking for a no BS, authentic, real-time coaching experience. What's really working in today's market, how to generate more leads, make more money, and have more time for what you love in your life. And now your hosts, Tim and Julie Harris.
Welcome back, everyone. This is, of course, Real Estate Coaching Radio. I want to welcome the thousands of you that are discovering us every single day. This is the time of year where we typically have a lot of new listeners find the podcast. Most of you guys find the podcast from just doing a little light searching on maybe on iTunes or on YouTube or even Google, and you'll find us that way. And other times, I know you're finding us because iTunes is suggesting that you guys listen to our podcast based on your other podcasts that you listen to. So here's one of the things that we would love for you to do to help us out. If you guys could give us a 5-star review on iTunes, and if you're listening to us on YouTube, do subscribe to the channel. That does actually help to notify the algorithms that, hey, Tim and Julie's Real Estate Coaching Radio is worth listening to, and maybe you should listen to it as well. So we'd certainly appreciate you giving us a 5-star review on iTunes, wherever your podcast listening widget is. And also, if you're listening to us on YouTube, which a lot of you are discovering our YouTube channel, also there you might want to subscribe, and we certainly appreciate it. So Julie and I are picking up where we left off yesterday and the day before.
Yes.
And the day before, I think.
I think so.
Yeah, where we're talking about the 10 biggest agent regrets. But before we get to the next point, Julie, which is point number 7.
Yes.
You said you just got off a string of coaching calls.
Yes, some interesting stuff.
With some of our elite coaching clients who are coached by you personally, many of which have been coached by you personally for decades, basically.
A long time, yeah.
Right. So, and you said you had some stories you wanted to share.
Yes. Well, I would say for sure the overriding theme, and several of them have said, it seems like it's 2020 all over again, to which you might say, well, what does that mean? Really low inventory, even lower inventory, okay? Open houses are absolutely slammed, killing it, dripping with new buyer and, more importantly, seller leads. So choose your open houses wisely. That's absolutely working. And, pretty much everybody I spoke with today has a goal of doing more, of course, but all these guys are doing more than 1 million GCI.
Right.
Okay. So here's the question. How does an agent who is very experienced, been around the block, has lots of active spokes going, knows what they're doing, okay? How does an agent that's used to doing around 1 million or more GCI, and some of them are well more than that, how do they move the needle? Especially when they are running out of inventory and things are a little bit starved. Well, so of course, when you are the listing agent, you win every time. But the discussion is, okay, great, keep doing what you're doing because that isn't terrible. That's fantastic. Most agents would die to do that kind of income. But in order to get more, to move the needle, you have to do not just more, but different things than you've always done.
So here's a secondary way of thinking about that too. So you could increase, if you want to, in normal business, if you want to increase, obviously sales or the rest of it, you obviously have to spend more money. You have to work harder, generate more leads. You have to push through more transactions. And traditionally in real estate, the industry, and I want to all of you, especially those of you who've been in the industry, well, really everyone, really, this is a fascinating thing. It's always been interesting to me in real estate. Not so much in other businesses, honestly, but in real estate, there is never any focus on net. So if you're at a point where in your business where you're really feeling like you have a very smoothly functioning real estate practice or any business in general, and you want to figure out where to drive the most benefit to you, then figure out how to increase your net. And so you can either increase sales or you can increase, obviously, the net profit. And oftentimes, because of the sort of hacks that come from being in a very almost seductive seller's market, right?
True.
The cash flow will essentially make it so that mistakes that you are making are not as obvious. And the only time you really know that you're making those mistakes is when the cash flow slows down. In other words, when there's some sort of COVID or, housing crash or something else happens, and the black swan events have gotten, all too frequent, as I'm sure everyone will agree. So the moral of the story is don't wait for the bad news or the headwinds the wind to change and become a headwind before you start looking at your expenses and start driving more profit. And if you're really wanting to make a significant difference in your business and your personal life, really, you definitely want to be focusing on driving more profit. And that's one of the things we focus on in our coaching business. And our coaching business, I think it's rule number 4 in our book, Harris Rules, which you guys can get on Amazon and everywhere else. I think rule number 4 is your product is profit. It's not, look, Julie and I are not taking a stance that it's not happy customers or more sold homes or all the rest of it. But ultimately, it's profit because it's with that profit that you reinvest into things like real estate. I was just talking to Chris McGee this morning, Julie, and you and I are interested in buying a series of multifamilies over the next few years, right? We want to increase our rental holdings because of the fact that we want to produce more passive income with the profit from our other businesses. And that's what all of you guys should be doing. But if you're not running a profitable business because you're spending all of your money buying your business, or you're sending all your business to essentially subsidize buyer agents and all the rest of it, you will have no profit. You will have no cash flow to then reinvest and create passive income for yourself. And you will be on the transactional,
hamster wheel
forever and ever and ever and ever.
That's true. So it's being profitable in the first place. I think that's part of business maturity. But then it's understanding where that came from, understanding your numbers. I mean, some of these guys, when we look at profit and loss, it's like it takes months to wade through because they're, quote, trying out everything that was thrown at them in their email, and they lose track until they break out their Visa statement, right?
And the only reason you guys are doing that is because many of you have enough money, your transactions are happening quick enough with enough velocity that you give yourself excuses to, frankly, try things out or waste money on things, which it really is, to see if it might be able to increase your brand. And that's when you guys start being, again, I'm going to use the word seduced, by the branding, by the marketing, by the ego crap. Oh, so-and-so's got so many followers or likes on YouTube. Let me tell you guys something about all that. It is all often faked. And I've studied this over the holiday break when we were in North Carolina because I didn't understand I understood how you could buy followers on Instagram because I've seen people do that. I've even understood how you could do other things that are sort of just simulating the appearance of influence. But I didn't know how you could do it on YouTube. Well, it turns out, and we're not doing this, by the way, and we won't do this, you can buy subscribers and you can buy views on YouTube. So if you're in a competitive situation for a listing appointment and you're dealing with one of these agents that likes to, fling around fairy tales basically about social media selling houses, which it absolutely does not, and they're using the number of influencers and followers and all of that, it's probably all faked and it's probably all bought, perception of influence. The fake it until you make it thing has gotten to a level that I don't think anybody would rationally have ever assumed it would have gotten to. It's incredible.
Crazy. Well, so let me contrast that with what would be a smart, efficient decision. For example, one of the people that I was talking to today typically does work with builders and they have new construction that list a subdivision. However, the price range that they've been doing it in is producing mostly first-time buyers, $350 to $450. So what they're doing to increase their profitability, to, yes, do more transactions, but also have a higher net at the same time, is they have had a series of builders come to them and want to do spec homes that are all in higher price ranges. Well, what happens when you list a house for $900,000? That's not a first-time buyer house. The person going there is moving up from probably a $500 to $750 house. So it's not just about listing that for the builder. It's also about getting the resale as a result of having the listing. That is an efficient thing that has nothing to do with buying business.
Versus if you are listing houses that first-time home buyers want to purchase, chances are the people selling those houses are going to be your move-up clients. So if you list one house that's a first-time home buyer house, the chances are you're going to get at least 3 deals from that one listing.
Correct.
You don't get that kind of sales velocity off working with buyers. How are you guys getting the point of why you want to become listing agents?
Yeah, well, I guess even more fun than that. In the same conversation.
But why 3, right? Because that seller's going to sell. You might sell that house yourself to one of your buyers. In this market, you probably will. So that might be 2 transactions. But that seller's going to buy something else, right? So that might be 3 transactions. Or you could have that seller buy one of your other listings. You guys get the point? But it all comes from listings versus if you have a buyer, you're just hoping and praying that listing agent
even qualify.
Well, the listing agent's even going to want to consider your offer over that offer that they're maybe bringing themselves. So that's the reality of it.
Well, so another iteration of this in the same conversation, light bulb went off that several builders have come to this agent saying, you know what, I'd love to be building spec homes right now because I know I can sell them, but I can't find any land.
Mm-hmm.
So they are now making it a special mission to find land, because that's a fourth sale, right? So you sell the builder the land, you list the listing for the builder, you sell it yourself. That person has a house to sell, and one thing leads to the next.
Well, so land's an interesting thing, because you and I did this when we sold real estate.
Yes.
Is that you can list subdivision lots if you find a builder that is, if it's not like a national builder, you can certainly do that. But one of the other cool things that will happen, it's happening in your market, I promise you, is infill lots, or sometimes houses that were built in the 60s and 70s where they were like 5-acre lots that if a builder's building patio homes, they could put in 100 patio homes on 5 acres, something crazy. Realistically, probably like 25. Mm-hmm. But if you were to go and start searching for, in your market, I promise you, there's properties like this. And usually where there's this perfect nexus is where you have these areas that are not in a very expensive property tax area. So they're right outside of the expensive property tax area, but then what you're going to get is people downsizing from the expensive property tax area into one of these other homes, and then you, again, have more sales velocities. But it all comes from being a listing agent. Now, how do you get the builder to do business with you if you bring them a lot? You say, I've got this big 5-acre parcel, but we have to have an agreement that when you develop this property that I'm going to get the listings. It's really that simple.
Yeah, and in today's market, the answer is going to be yes. Let's do the deal.
And if they monkey around with you, then bring it to
somebody else.
Just take it to another. This is what Julie and I did this, and it definitely worked. And so this is just, by the way, these weren't our points of biggest regrets that agents have, no. but frankly, these are a lot of the points. And I think, the takeaway that I had from what you just said is not knowing how to create their own inventory should have been another point.
Well, yes. And so that was the overriding theme of all of these calls is don't spend your time sitting around and praying that the spring market is going to save your butt and just rain inventory upon you.
Well, there's varying degrees of the word proactive, right?
Yes.
So Julie and I will tell you that calling an unrepresented owner, for sale by owner, that's being proactive. You doing something to generate the business is proactive. But taking proactive to the next level, it would be identifying a potential property that's available for redevelopment and then knowing how to actually bring potential builders to redevelop that land. You don't have to do it. All you have to do is introduce the client.
Make the relationship.
Don't try to do it. Don't decide, I found a property. Now I'm going to learn how to be a developer. Don't worry about that. You're going to make more money if you go from that project to the next project to the next project to the next project.
This is true.
Your job is to sell homes, not try to wear a bunch of different hats. I'm a home flipper. I'm a builder. I'm a rehab person. I'm a whatever. Nope. You're a real estate agent. Focus on becoming the best version of a real estate agent as you possibly can. That's where you're going to create the most sales velocity ultimately. But I would say the real takeaway from this little back and forth would be the most important thing that you all have to accept and have this tattooed on your profit part of your brain, which all of you have. Mm-hmm. Some of you, it needs to be developed more.
Might be latent, but we're
it
working
might be
on
latent, right? Is that the product from your business is profit. The product from your business is profit. Julie, what's the product should be from their business?
Profit.
Because it's with that profit. Look, if you're just making enough money to have a nice lifestyle, congratulations. You've essentially done what a lot of people can't do, but that is not good enough. The point of you being in the business is not just spend it all on boats and bikinis and, private whatever, right? The point of it is ultimately what you'll be most proud of yourself for having done is build a profitable business and then take that profit and start investing in things that will make you rich. And rich, I know, oh my gosh, Tim, that word has so many taboos associated with it. No, it does not. Because rich is simply where your money works for you and you no longer have to work for your money. And if that means that you have to have $10,000 coming in passively per month, if you have $10,000 coming in passively per month from rental properties that you didn't have to work for other than just basically making sure the money was wired to you that month, you are by definition rich because you now have created income that is no longer predicated on you having to transact, right? You guys get it? That's the freedom that all of you want, because if you really drill down on why you got into real estate in the first place, it wasn't the happy customers and the Instagrams and the TikToks and all the other Mickey Mouse. It was you wanted freedom of your time, but ultimately what you want is financial freedom, because when you have financial freedom, everything on the other side of that is 1,000,000,000x better than when you have to work for money.
That's exactly it, because the problem with being just transactional is that when you stop being transactional, so does your cash flow stop. So you might have a really kick-ass lifestyle right now, but if and when maybe the market changes on you or you decide to retire or you, heaven forbid, get sick or whatever, if you're only transactional, then that cash flow has ended. And then you find yourself having to sell whatever assets you might have built up or make other decisions that you wouldn't normally make.
So that was a conversation that was not part of what we were going to present to you guys today. But it was because Julie's fired up from her coaching calls from her high-level clients.
And some caffeine.
Yes, and some caffeine. And we're going to get to point number 7.
Yes, biggest agent regrets.
Go ahead. And point number 7, Julie?
Okay, this is one that you see. You guys that are listening, that are doing your deals, you see this a lot. Some of you fall into this trap, and that's called having to be right all the time. Lack of flexibility, being overly rigid, and not having versatility are all hazards to your income, your reputation, and your ability to achieve your dreams. Arguing with clients or prospects about price and commission because you don't have a good objection handler, or killing a deal due to lack of versatility are all manifestations of having to be right. So how do you fix that?
You know, Julie, they were going to list the house with me, but they wouldn't pay. They wouldn't take my price.
Right, or your commission.
They wouldn't take
whatever.
Julie, they wanted to overprice it, and they wouldn't take my price.
Yeah.
And so what happens? Well, you didn't get the listing, and your competitor did.
I walked away.
You walked away, and you want to celebrate the fact that your ego was so more critical to you to be right and to tell that seller no. You rejected a seller because they told you a higher price. That means you didn't get paid. You could have taken that.
Nothing.
Even if sometimes you do have to take listings over price, especially in this market, and you just did not know how to deal with that relationship with that seller in the event that you did take that listing. No, we are not saying lie to the seller, but we are saying know how to professionally accept the seller's terms and conditions, but put limitations on it, and that's what coaching is all about.
That's right.
I did not take that listing because they were not willing to pay my commission. I did not take that listing because they were not willing to do this, or all the other Mickey Mouse things that you guys put. Oh, I got into a conflict with a seller or another agent or any human, right? Over politics, over COVID, over masking.
Yeah.
You know, this is all silliness that will cost you guys your business in your financial future and your ability to one day be financially free.
Yeah, and it's even worse because sometimes when you guys get wound up in all that ego conversation, and there are many varieties that you hit most of them, and then you go post on your social media about it.
Yeah, exactly.
And then your next listing Googles you, and they cancel your appointment, and you don't know why. So having to be right all the time is definitely a big regret. Now, how do you fix that? 2 bullet points I wrote down. One is ask questions more than you make statements. When you understand all sides of the situation, all motivations from each side, you'll be a better strategist. Use the phrase, help me understand, and make sure you listen to the answers. Next, the definition of negotiating is not to be the winner, to make the other side feel pain, or to prove your point. Negotiating is the result of each side coming to an acceptable agreement, which allows the transaction to move forward. Again, a manifestation of ego oftentimes when they negotiate.
Well, that also is a manifestation of, or not even a manifestation, it's just a sign of lack of experience.
That's true.
And ego, really.
It is true.
At the end of the day. So again, Julie's stance and what she's suggesting to all of you guys, and here's the thing. A lot of us fall into the behavioral pattern of wanting, it's difficult. I mean, for all of us. When you, for example, you're talking to somebody who's telling you 1 + 1 equals 5, 1 + 1 equals 5, 1 + 1 equals 5, you know, you're for a lot of your life going to argue with them because you know they're just dumb and or they're not understanding it, or they're just trying to, whatever. They just don't know that 1 + 1 equals 2, right? But you will get to a point in your life where you're just going to hear somebody say 1 + 1 equals 5, and you're just going to smile. You don't have to react. You don't have to make them, you don't have to try to essentially educate them or coach them or dominate them. You just smile. You don't have to react. Yeah. When you get to that point where you can essentially just be an observer of the world around you, opposed to having to be an active player, video game in the world, you're going to find yourself to be a much happier person. Here's the thing you look out for. I'll give you guys a little coaching here. So this happens mostly with men, truthfully. But when you start to feel, how do you know what to look for? Like when you know this point about being right all the time, the sub point, or maybe even the macro point, is ego, right? Mm-hmm. How do you know your ego is going to is boiling up inside of you, and how, generally speaking, the next result from that ego outpour is going to be something non-desirous? In other words, you're going to say something, do something. You're going to have the breaking of a potential relationship, something you're going to most likely regret sometime in the future.
You're about to react somehow.
Exactly. And most of us go from reaction to reaction to reaction. We just go from what's the news? How's it making me feel? How's my dog make me feel? How's my this make me feel? That make me feel? I got to go check the email. I got to go check social networking. I'm going to flip through pictures on Instagram. All these things are essentially you being unconscious. You're not even aware. You're not even awake. You're not even being observant of your feelings and your emotional state. So look for the feeling that you have inside of you and start being observant of it. And it's way too, I mean, frankly, it's I can't convey this to you guys on a podcast, but just monitor how you feel, because your feeling is going to be a barometer of whether or not your ego is about to essentially, or frankly, your ego is in the driver's seat. Are you feeling aggressive? Are you feeling defensive? Sometimes you'll feel the actual physiological reaction to an affront to your ego. Your ego is wanting to basically put the dukes up, right? Right in the stomach's, mid-torso area.
You physically feel the reaction.
You'll feel the reaction. And then the first time you choose to react or not react, when you feel that physiological boiling up, that's when you become in control of it. And that's when you can stop trying to be right.
Yes, and this is why our coaches always coach all of you guys that when you have that and you sense it's happening, which is the hardest part, is to stop yourself, right?
Yep.
To not call that prospect, client, or agent back immediately, to perhaps even hang up the phone if it's happening on the phone, to wait 30 minutes, to take a breath, to write it out, to ask better questions, to understand at a better level, so that you don't just, go with your ego reaction. Because it's almost always wrong.
And again, this is mostly for men, but it's also true for women in a different way. Mm-hmm. Men will react subconsciously when they're in contact with another big ego male. So if there's another big ego male that's around them, that's peacocking, that's flexing, that's trying to basically get attention or trying to dominate conversations, or just basically what will happen is subconsciously your ego is going to start firing off and wanting to duke it out and do battle with that person verbally and hopefully not physically. And so if you can then stop yourself from reacting that way and just observe this person sort of in this emotional, physiological ego spiral, and just observe them, observe how they're just reacting. They're not even thinking consciously.
You don't have to participate with them in that spiral.
No, but you can observe, and you don't even have to, you don't have to go in there and be right. You don't have to go in there and try to make your point. And that is especially true online. And the best way, frankly, to shelter yourself from all this, and shelter's not the right word, is to just not participate in the first place. Don't go to the places that trigger you. Don't watch the stuff that triggers you. Don't read the stuff that triggers you. It's not, and the reason is because over not very much time, you will start becoming more in control of your mental and emotional state. And when you do, you're finally going to understand really the true importance of mindset. Because if you are, I would say, inundating yourself, saturating yourself with things that trigger your ego and cause you to have an involuntary physiological reaction, if you can, that is occupying all of the potential, really that's the word, it's sucking up all the potential that you have in that moment to have actually had a purifying thought, or having taken the actions that would have led to something miraculous, 2 minutes or 2 years or 20 years down the road, because you're so embroiled with the moment and your ego and all this insanity that we're all surrounded with. Hopefully I explained that as best I could.
Yes, and I have a special request for those of you who are grizzled veterans who have done your hundreds or thousands of transactions. Most of you have grown into understanding this, but occasionally I see this with agents, or it'll come out on a Facebook Live or something. Some of the more experienced agents are, and I think that this is a result of the market being kind of tough right now in terms of, everybody negotiating with each other. Sometimes the grizzled veteran will be a bit abusive to a newbie, and they'll be all about, well, I've been in the business 25 years longer than you. Well, you're not helping that newbie learn anything. You've got to set the example.
But let's be honest, because you and I, we see it from both sides.
We do.
Anytime you see a grizzled veteran reacting like that, it's because they're threatened by the newbie.
That's true.
And it's because
they don't realize it necessarily.
But exactly. And because they think, I've been in the business long enough, I should have some kind of, I have some kind of deference, or you should be somehow, I've arrived, or no, you haven't. That's the thing about real estate, especially if you're just doing it transactionally, you're not building wealth, is you are no different in most consumers' minds than the person who just got their real estate license. And you might be at a disadvantage if you're a big egotistical mess, even though you've done a bunch of real estate transactions. I'm going to say that again. The blessing and the curse of being in real estate is most consumers do not differentiate one agent from the other. Agents do not have clearly defined USPs. And I got news for you. The amount of followers you have on Instagram is not a USP. The ultimate USP you have is somebody who has proven your ability to help solve other people's problems long-term, consistently, no matter what the market conditions are. And you cannot fake that.
That's right. So one more example and we'll wrap, because I've got to get to a Zoom.
Yes, ma'am.
An example of a newer agent who thought things through and basically defeated his competition. This was a team member of one of my coaching clients. Newer agent, fairly freshly licensed, was competing on a buyer side, okay, and did not bring in the highest offer. I think there were 7 or 8 other offers. Instead, he asked lots of questions. He found out why the seller was selling, what were their hot buttons. They were moving to be closer to family. Well, it just so turns out that his buyer was also moving into that town to be more with family. So they found a bonding moment. He actually came in $20,000 less than the highest offer. They won because he asked good questions and he gave the seller what they wanted. That was a newbie, by the way.
We have 3, and that was, I think, Lance Kenmore, right?
Close, but no, it was a call before him.
Okay, so we have 3 more points that we'll get to tomorrow.
Yes.
And so you guys listen in. Hopefully you're understanding that the overarching theme that hopefully you're taking from our podcast is you are in the right place at the right time, as long as you do take the right actions. Yes. This is a shockingly simple business to fail out of. And, it just is. And it's never been easier to fail in real estate. Never been easier. Statistically, what we're telling you is the truth. There are tens of thousands of people that get into real estate every single year, and there's tens of thousands that fail out of real estate. Most of you will fail out of real estate within 24 months. Those who make it past 24 months will fail out of the real estate by 5 years. And this in an era where there's wall-to-wall ways to buy leads, to do branding, to do all the social networking, do all the marketing, and all the CRMs. Put the pieces together, firm the neuro pathways. If that stuff worked to keep people in business, to make real estate agents successful, why have we seen a dramatic increase in the number of agents who are failing? Because agents are not taking the time to learn the skills, be essentially business-minded, where they realize their product is profit, and where they're not learning how to be proactive lead generators. And hopefully this all makes sense to you guys. In the meantime, please do remember to give us a 5-star review on iTunes or whatever your podcast listening widget is. If you're listening to us on YouTube, please do consider giving us or subscribing and giving us some nice comments. We certainly appreciate your support. And guys, listen, this is going to be your best year ever, and it's going to be the start of many, many best years following, provided you choose to take that approach. Everything, no matter what's happening, the interest rates, the economy, inflation, deflation, who the president is, we laugh because, in the past, 2 years, we've had a pandemic and we've had the government basically admitting that we're getting visited by aliens. Okay. So if you're waiting for another shoe to drop, they've all dropped. They're on the floor.
Another pandemic. Wait a minute. That was the original pandemic.
That's right. We've had 4, I think 4 or 5. So, and if you've been in the business long enough, you've lived through a housing crash. Now we're going to live through other changes and other things. You can do it. Stop looking for excuses not to triple down on your potential. Stop thinking that this business is, anything other than the blessing that it is. In the meantime, if you guys need us for anything, any ideas or any feedback, or if you want to talk to Julie and I about joining us at eXp Realty, please do text me directly at 512-758-0206. Don't call, text. I will not answer the phone if you call. Text 512-758-0206. Thanks. Have a fantastic day.
This podcast is a part of the C-Suite Radio Network. For more top business podcasts, visit c-suiteradio.com.